Which Elgato webcam should you buy? Should you get the new Facecam Mark II? This is 150 bucks. Or what about the Facecam Pro? This is 300 bucks. Or how about the original Facecam, which Elgato doesn't make anymore, so you could probably get it super cheap or maybe on clearance somewhere. Well, you know what? Maybe none of these are worth it. I have no idea how much money you make. I'll be honest with you guys, this video probably won't be that much different than the 50 other videos you've already watched on these webcams, but at the very least, this video should serve as another data point to compare against, because different lighting conditions, different skin tones, and people can be rendered differently on different cameras. For example, if you wanted to know what a brown Herman Lee looks like, this is the video for you. We'll go over the software for each and do a side-by-side comparison under different lighting conditions and different camera angles, because these are all very different webcams. Even the Mark I and the Mark II, I thought the Mark II was just gonna be a minor refresh. No, this is a completely different camera. Before I start, I want to mention that yes, I am an Elgato partner, so that is of course going to influence my opinions throughout this video. So you should go out and watch other people's videos, don't just watch mine. Like I said, this is just another data point, but it shouldn't be your only data point. That being said, I do have discount codes in the description, so go use them so I can make some money. Real quick, I want to thank this week's sponsor, Brilliant, for making this video possible. If you guys are looking to get into making custom widgets for your stream, learning a little bit of programming goes a long way, and Brilliant has a lot of courses ranging from math, computer science, data science. You can make some really cool stuff for your stream with even just basic programming experience. And Brilliant has tons of courses to learn fundamentals like how variables work and how to write if statements. It's a lot better than just falling asleep to one of my YouTube videos. You actually get to push buttons and interact with pretty diagrams so you can see how everything works. You learn a lot better with actual hands-on experience. I recommend starting with their creative coding course. Everything you learn there translates perfectly to what you're going to be learning in some of my upcoming videos, and it only takes a couple minutes a day to get through all of it. If you're interested, try out Brilliant in the link down below, or just head to brilliant.org/nutty. It's free for 30 days, and you'll also get 20% off an annual subscription. All right, so we're gonna go through all these cameras in chronological order, starting with the original Facecam Mark I. And man, this is crazy to look at. So this camera came out nearly 3 years ago. And if you guys remember, this camera when it came out was truly groundbreaking. We had to put up with like 10 years of the Logitech C9, whatever the f camera that is. But looking at this camera right now, I think it already looks dated. I had so much trouble getting my skin tone to look right on this camera, and even right now, it's on auto white balance, and it just looks green. Like, I look nothing like I do in real life. The jacket behind me, this is supposed to be a gray jacket, and on camera, at least on my screen, it looks green. I had so much trouble trying to tune this to get it to look right. I thought I was going crazy too, because I looked at all the other videos that people posted, like all the reviews of the Facecam Mark I at the time, and for some reason mine just like doesn't look like that. You know, when you buy something and then you expect it to look as good as you see in like YouTube videos, and I don't know what happened, okay? But this is, for the most part, pretty much factory settings. So this is the Elgato Camera Hub software. And by the way, all of the Elgato cameras use the same software, but as you'll see when we go along through the rest of the cameras, all of the settings for all the cameras are completely different. So these are the settings that I use. Again, like I said, these are pretty much stock settings. One thing that you'll have to change with all of these cameras is the exposure. So even like the more expensive, the most recent cameras, you'll definitely want to change the exposure, because none of these cameras do a good job with just auto exposure. So what I do is I set my shutter speed to 1/60 because I shoot at 60 frames per second. And then you just adjust the ISO until your face is properly exposed. The white balance, I have it on auto right now. Now, if I turn it to manual, I could set a manual white balance and get something that's closer to my actual skin tone. But even when I do that, it just like nothing I set here looks right. Like the lights on the wall, I find that RGB in particular doesn't look very good on this camera. So the lights on the wall, they look white. They're actually purple in real life. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Also, this camera has noise reduction. I have it turned off as well. You can see that when you turn it on, might not come across on videos, but adds like, I almost look like it's like face smoothing but I prefer to have this turned off so you can see a little bit of the actual texture in my face. But yeah, the main issue I'm having with this webcam is really just that green tint. So I'll put the auto white balance back on. Like I look like an alien and I don't like how that looks. And I don't think it's a lighting issue either, because I can turn off all the lights here and just turn on the ceiling lights. So with just the ceiling lights turned on, you'll of course have to adjust the ISO and boost that up so we can expose our face. And so now you can see my face, which is pretty good for a webcam, I guess. But then notice how when we turn that up, the whole back gets totally blown out. You have like no detail in the white door behind me, but at least people will be able to see your face. So ideally, you definitely don't want to use this webcam with just ceiling lights, but that goes for any webcam. But yeah, let's move on to the next webcam. Okay, so this is the Facecam Pro. And I don't have to tell you guys this because you guys have eyes, presumably. I don't know why you'd be watching this video if you don't, but obviously this is a massive improvement over the Facecam Mark 1. And it's funny because when the original Facecam came out, Elgato made a big deal about not wanting to do 4K and not wanting to put autofocus in their camera and not putting in a microphone, because they just wanted to focus on making a 1080p 60 camera with good optics. And then they released the Facecam Pro, where they kind of went back on that, and then they went full 4K, 60 frames per second as well, and they put autofocus on this camera. And I can sort of see why they didn't want to put autofocus in their original camera, because like every single webcam that I've ever used, this camera does that sort of like focus hunting thing where even if you're sitting still, if you just like move your head slightly, every so often it will like go in and out of focus to like try find your face, I guess. But thankfully the software has a button here. So right now it is on automatic focus, but there's a lock button right next to it. So you can basically just plop your ass down in your chair and then let it focus on yourself, and then just click on the little lock button. And now if you move in and out, it's going to stay locked to where it is. But if you want the autofocus on, you can just unlock that, and it's pretty good. So if I hold this up here, like it focuses pretty quickly, but it's just that like, okay, sometimes you see, sometimes this is the problem with autofocus on webcams, guys. Like it goes in and out of focus, and now I'm just like out of focus. I don't go fix yourself. Okay, now I'm in focus. See, you see why autofocus on webcams is kind of bad. Now, because this is a 4K webcam, you can zoom into your camera like PTZ zoom. So if you drag this slider in, you can zoom up to 200% without losing any quality, assuming you're streaming at 1080p. So this is basically a 1080p shot right now that's using the full sensor. And then you can go beyond up to 400%. But that is kind of the advantage of the Facecam Pro and the 4K resolution. And I totally thought that 4K was a meme, but no, this is very clearly 4K. You can very clearly tell the difference between 1080p and 4K. And it also has face tracking. So if you zoom into my face, for some reason, this just works sometimes and doesn't work. I don't know why that is. I'll have to look into that. And then you can, of course, set up presets to position your camera to different parts of the screen. The picture settings I didn't touch at all. Like I said with the original Facecam, the exposure settings, you're definitely going to want to change this. I set the shutter speed again to 1/60th, and then I just lowered the ISO until I was properly exposed. Now, this camera has sort of the opposite problem to the original Facecam. So the original Facecam, I just looked way too green. This one, there's too much purple. And it's not just because of the purple lights behind me, by the way, which, by the way, you can actually see that they're purple now in this camera. It's not just because of the purple lighting, like just under any lighting condition, I just found myself to be a little bit too purple. The good thing is on this camera, they added tint control. So if you find yourself a little bit too purple like I did, you can just adjust the tint and get rid of that purple. So I like to set the tints around about there, and that more closely matches to what my actual skin tone is. So I have a mirror here so I can like actually compare, and that's like maybe that's a little bit too green. So like maybe I can like adjust that. And that looks pretty good. That looks pretty close enough to what my actual skin tone looks like. One setting that you'll notice isn't here is that noise reduction setting. Now, this camera, I don't think it needs it. This camera is actually remarkably low noise, especially for a webcam. I don't really see any noise to complain about. But let's turn off all the lights and see what this camera looks like without any lights on. So here you can see I didn't even adjust my ISO yet, and you can still see my face, which is pretty great. But you can of course raise this, and when you raise the ISO, that sort of brings out my face, and you can still like see details in the door behind me. Like I would never recommend using any webcam or any camera for that matter without lights, but this could work if you just refuse to care about production value, at which point I don't know why you're buying a $300 camera. But yeah, if you wanted to use this without lights for some reason, I guess it kind of works. Finally, we have the Facecam Mark II, and man, this looks so much different than I was expecting. I thought the Mark II would just be a minor refresh over the Mark I, but no, this is an entirely different camera. The colors are completely different. There's way more clarity. The dynamic range is so much better. You can see so much more detail in the shadows and the highlights. So if you look at my hair, you can actually see the texture of my hair now. You can see like the pattern on the black sound panels, all the detail in the white doors behind me. And I mean, yeah, I could just be biased and I'm like trying to push you guys to just buy the new thing that just came out. But you can just look at the footage side by side. Like they're very clearly different. They don't look the same at all. Now, this is still only a 1080p 60 camera. However, they brought over the pan tilt zoom controls from the Facecam Pro, so you can still zoom in and out. But keep in mind that because it's only 1080p, as soon as you zoom in even 1%, you're immediately going to start losing quality. But it still works exactly the same as the Facecam Pro. You still have the 4 preset buttons, which by the way, you can put onto a Stream Deck so you have quick access to them. Now, picture quality settings, these are stock out of the box, didn't change these. I would probably turn down the sharpness because it does look unnaturally sharp to me. So maybe turn it down a little bit. Exposure settings, like the previous ones, yes, you still need to set them to manual because for this camera, when you turn on auto, it tends to underexpose me. So I set this to automatic. I set the shutter speed to 1/60th as usual, and then adjust the ISO until my face is properly exposed. Now there is a new dynamic range option, so you can set this to high dynamic range, but as you can see, I don't think this looks good. I think this looks a lot worse. There's barely any shadows or contours in my face. I look super flat. I look like a fucking Wii bowling character. I don't know. Yeah, I don't like this. Also, you like lose a lot of the detail in like the sound panels behind me, which is weird because you'd think that high dynamic range would reveal more of the details, but no, it looks worse. So I kind of set this to standard. I think this looks better. For some reason, when you set it to standard, you gotta like nudge your ISO to bring it back. The white balance, you'll notice, automatic. I didn't change this at all. Like, I'm holding a mirror to my face. Like this is pretty spot on. This is what I look like. Now, there is no tint control like the Facecam Pro, but luckily I don't think I need to change that, but there's still manual temperature control if you want to change that. But the auto settings were, yeah, it's pretty good. Now, one of the criticisms that I've heard from people about this camera is it looks kind of flat. It looks kind of dull. And like, I get where that criticism comes from because people want their camera to look punchy. You can always just add in color correction in OBS. So if I open up OBS, we can just go into, go to a webcam. We can just add a filter. We'll add color correction. And then we can just like increase the contrast a little bit, maybe bring down the gamma. And this is probably closer to what you guys expect a camera to look like, but it's just easier to work with colors when you're getting correct and accurate colors from the sensor. You can't really fix a camera that has poor colors to begin with. So I wouldn't really see this as a negative, but just keep that in mind. Yeah, you might want to add a little bit more color correction afterwards in OBS. But overall, I think the colors on this are way better than the original Facecam. Now, let me just turn off those color correction settings, and then we'll do a test without any lighting again. So I'll turn off all the lights. So yeah, no lighting here, and it's pretty much the same thing as the Facecam Pro. Like you can actually see my face. Even I haven't adjusted the ISO at all. Still have all the detail in the door behind me. We can raise the ISO, and you still get a lot of detail. Now, one thing that you might not be able to notice in the YouTube video is I'm looking in the OBS preview window, and there is quite a bit of noise or digital noise in this camera. A lot more than the Facecam Pro, but you're using this for YouTube. So if you guys on YouTube can't see that digital noise, it's getting compressed out by YouTube anyway. So that might not be as big of a deal. And of course, if you're streaming on Twitch, when you have like the dog shit bit rate that Twitch has, like you're not gonna notice it on Twitch either. But yeah, there is a noise reduction setting too if you want to use that. I just have it off. I think it looks fine with it completely off. All right, so we're back on the Facecam Pro now. We'll use this for the rest of the video because I think this one looks the best out of all of them, which of course it would. It's $300. So here's all of the cameras side by side, and like I said, they should all look obviously very different, but I was definitely surprised with how dated the original Facecam looked. I probably wouldn't buy that today unless you can find like a really good deal on a used one, or maybe there's like massive clearance sales going on. The Mark II just looks so much better, and the Pro for that matter, but you kind of need to be certain that you want a webcam and not a mirrorless camera. However, I wouldn't say that if you have a Mark I that you should go out and run to get like a Mark II or a Facecam Pro. You should probably just save up a little bit more money and get a mirrorless camera later down the line. Here's a few other side-by-side examples. I saw a lot of questions from people asking if these cameras would work well as top-down cameras for like unboxings or card pack openings. And the answer is yes, of course. I mean, why wouldn't they? Keep in mind, the Facecam Pro is the only one that has autofocus. So if you're doing card pack openings and you're holding your cards right up to the camera, there's a minimum focus distance. So it should be fine with the Mark I and the Mark II, but the Facecam Pro is obviously going to be the clearest here. You can also do these isometric view shots. I like to use this camera angle with like a keyboard cam if you're like an FPS player. And these cameras are pretty wide, so you'll have to put the camera close to where your mouse and keyboard are. But yeah, I think it works fine for this scenario. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think about these cameras. Personally, I'm just happy that we're regularly getting new webcam releases. There was like a 10-year drought where we got zero webcam innovation. And now it seems like we're getting significant improvements like almost every year. Also, come watch my Twitch streams. I'm probably gonna have the Facecam Pro or the Mark II mounted somewhere. I haven't decided which one I wanna have permanently mounted in my setup. So yeah, maybe you can come ask me which one I decided to go with. But until then, see you later, and I'll see you guys in chat or in another video if you don't like Twitch streams. Okay, see ya.